Another question sent in by a student, and I just chose to use this one as is rather than making up my own version because I think, more or less it's the same as you'll see in many other places, and I think this is a good lesson for a question like this. So one of the following graphs in the standard coordinate plane is the graph of y is greater than or equal to ax plus b for some positive a value and negative b. And which graph is it? So we might first get thrown off by the shading, and we might kind of be like, all right, wait, the shading, how does that work with the inequalities? And it may seem kind of complicated. My instinct on any math question, especially when we get into a number 41 of the ACT math section here, getting into the mediums and hards, my instinct is always, can I simplify this? Can I make this easier than it actually may seem? Because a lot of times they're going to try to intimidate you, make the question seem harder than it actually is. We want to avoid that. So can we make this simpler? So can we kind of ignore the inequality, at least at first, if we can, and try to get the answer in another way? And really it comes down to these coefficients. If I know how these coefficients affect my graph, I may not need the shading. So for example, I'm told that b is negative, and b in this equation is the y-intercept, which means my line, ignore the shading, my line has to hit the y-axis in the negatives. So A is gone because it hits in a positive. B is in the running. Or sorry, D is in the running. B, again, hits in the positive. No good. C hits in the negative, so it's in the running. D, we already said, is in the running. And E also hits in the negative. So right away, we can get rid of A and B. Worst case scenario, we're down to 3 guesses. But next, we know that the A, which is the slope, is positive. So we need a line that goes in this direction. So from down to up, basically, as we go from left to right. So we look at our choices. C and E both have a negative slope. So the only option here is choice D. Now, in terms of the shading, if that were to come into play, maybe we would have, I don't know, a choice F, where you had the same line but shaded below. The easy trick here is if it's greater than, what I like to do if I'm a little bit uncertain as to which way it's going to go, if it's greater than, I put little lines above the line like this, moving in the positive y direction, and then I know my shading has got to work here, go like that. Now, you might think, well, that was kind of easy. Why would you need to do that? Well, imagine if you had a line like this, like really steep line like this. When you get a line like this, it's a little less obvious where the shading goes if it's something like greater than or if it's less than. So let's say it's less than, what would I do? I would go to my line and I would draw lines straight down from the line like this. And that would tell me if it's less than, I'm going to shade below the line, which is like this. So it's a little bit of a trick. As you can see on this one, though, we didn't need to know the shading rules at all. We could have done this just with our knowledge of slopes and y-intercepts and what those values correspond to graphically. So this one is choice D. To learn more about Reason Prep's SAT, SAT subject test, and ACT video courses, go to reasonprep.com/enroll, and you can find the link in the description below the video.